Have you ever found yourself doing your absolute best to keep things together? Maybe you've overcome huge challenges, but still feel like you're, I don't know, going a little crazy. That sense of peace, that feeling of just being normal, it just seems constantly out of reach. It's a really unsettling feeling inside, isn't it?
It truly is. And you know, what's striking is how common that feeling actually is. So often it points to maybe a missing piece in the puzzle of life, a dynamic that shapes how we react, how we relate.
Okay.
And today we're taking a deep dive into exactly that, codependency. We're drawing on some really profound insights from Jeanette Elizabeth Mentor's book, You're Not Crazy, You're Codependent.
Right, Jeanette Mentor. She's not just writing theories, she calls herself a survivor.
Yeah.
She wrote this book from a really personal place, right? Like growing up with an alcoholic father and an enabling mother.
A neurotic enabling mother, yeah.
And her whole journey was about healing herself, and then she put together what worked for her is her experience plus, lots of reading she did.
Exactly. It's powerful because it's tangible. It comes from someone who's really been there deep in it and found a way through.
So that's our mission for this deep dive then.
That's it. We're going to unpack what codependency really is. We'll explore its origins, which can be pretty surprising and deep-rooted.
Okay.
How it shows up, often subtly, in day-to-day life. And importantly, Mentor's practical roadmap for actually overcoming it.
Moving beyond just surviving.
Exactly. Yeah. Beyond just surviving to hopefully thriving. The aim is clarity for you, the listener, and concrete steps towards a more balanced, more authentic life.
Okay, so let's start right there with that feeling, being lost and a little crazy. Mentor says this missing piece is often codependency. But that word, it can feel a bit vague, maybe, or even loaded. How does she define it clearly?
That's a great point. The term itself, it's evolved quite a bit. Originally, codependency was pretty specific. It described people who were intricately tied into the destructive lifestyle of a substance addict, codependent on the addict.
Right, like enabling them.
Yeah, enabling, reacting, their whole life revolving around it. But Mentor, and many others now, see it much more broadly. She uses it for anyone from a dysfunctional background where basically emotional needs weren't met consistently.
Okay, so not just addiction.
Not just addiction. Think about homes where kids felt ignored or scared or belittled, or maybe even felt like they were responsible for the adults' feelings.
Wow.
In those places, spontaneity, honest talk, it just disappears. Instead, you get rigid rules, secrets, this constant tension, and boundaries. They get really skewed, either totally enmeshed, no sense of self, or just gone, non-existent.
That makes a lot of sense. It's about the environment derailing healthy emotional growth. So Mentor boils down her own experience into 3 core beliefs that defined her codependency. What were they?
Yeah, these were like the bedrock for her. First, she believed her happiness totally depended on pleasing other people, getting their approval, even if it hurt her.
Okay, people-pleasing to the extreme.
To the extreme, yeah. Second, she felt this huge, overwhelming responsibility to fix everyone and all their problems, like it was her job.
The rescuer.
The rescuer, exactly. And third, this one's really painful, she believed deep down that she was inherently bad and lived in constant terror of being rejected.
Oof.
Yeah. And the result of all that, she argues, is you end up not really knowing who you are. You just see yourself as an extension of others.
That's incredibly powerful. Losing yourself trying to fix and control others, it really messes with your self-view, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Mentor actually has a term for it. She calls it the vital sign for codependency. Losing yourself trying to enable, fix, and control others.
The vital sign.
Yeah, it's this process that totally distorts how you see yourself, traps you in these harmful cycles, these repeating patterns. And maybe the most heartbreaking part is you risk passing that whole legacy of unhappiness onto your kids, often without even realizing it. It just perpetuates.
So if this is sounding familiar to you listening, you might be thinking, oh, is this me? Mentor's book has some direct questions, doesn't it?
It does. Really good ones for self-reflection.
Let's try a few right now for our listeners. Okay, think about this. Do you often feel insecure? Do you find yourself saying yes when you really, really want to say no? Do you see yourself as a caretaker? Maybe a rescuer? Are you absolutely terrified of rejection or abandonment?
Yeah.
Mentor suggests if you answered yes to most of those, you're likely dealing with codependency.
And it's really important to clarify here, codependency isn't like an official psychiatric diagnosis in the DSM,
Right. It's not like depression or anxiety in that sense.
Exactly. It's seen more as a condition, maybe a personality type. It's a collection of these deeply ingrained traits, these learned behaviors. The key isn't if you have some traits, it's the degree. How much do they mess with your daily life you're functioning? And crucially, it's not a life sentence. These are patterns. And patterns can be unlearned. The goal is balance, self-awareness, not some impossible perfection.
Okay, that's a hopeful perspective. Now, this next part I found incredibly insightful. Mentor doesn't just stop at symptoms. She digs deep into the roots. She points to 4 common enemies of a healthy life, as she calls them. Threads in codependent stories: addiction, abuse, shame, and trauma.
Yes.
What's the big connection she draws between these, and how does addiction play into it?
Well, the really crucial insight Mentor has is that these aren't separate boxes. They're often different sides of the same coin, different faces of the same core wound. They all fundamentally get in the way of genuine connection and expressing your true self.
Okay.
So let's start with addiction. As we said, the term codependency literally came from relationships with addicts. Mentor's own dad was an alcoholic, so she illustrates powerfully how this generational thing impacts families. Homes with addiction, they often swing between extremes, right? Either those enmeshed boundaries where nobody has their own space, or totally distant ones, no real intimacy. And these rigid rules take over. Don't talk, don't trust, don't feel.
Oh, the 3 rules.
Yeah. And kids, trying desperately to cope, to make sense of the chaos, they often fall into specific roles. You've got the family hero, always striving perfect, the scapegoat, the rebellious one, the lost child, often anxious, depressed, invisible, or the mascot, the clown, often ends up self-medicating later.
That's heartbreaking.
It is, and the statistic she shares is just staggering. 78% of kids in foster care come from homes with parental substance abuse.
78%. That really shows how systemic this is.
Okay.
Beyond addiction, she points to abuse.
Yeah.
And it's broader than just physical abuse. Right?
Much broader. Abuse comes in so many forms: verbal, physical, emotional, sexual. And victims often struggle deeply with trust, have low self-esteem, feel mentally confused. Sometimes they even unconsciously create chaos when things are good because calm feels weird, unsafe. But Mentor really highlights what she calls abuse by omission, like withholding affection, or just a lack of interaction. Neglect, ignoring a child. She mentions parents constantly on their phones, not engaging.
Wow. Non-parenting.
Exactly. She called her own experience malnurturing, these constant messages like, you're bad, you're stupid, you're shameful. Plus, her dad's affection was totally unpredictable. She said it made her feel crazy really young.
And the third thread is shame. I found John Bradshaw's distinction, the one Mentor uses, so clear. Guilt is, I did something wrong. Shame is, there's something wrong with me.
Yes.
Guilt, I made a mistake. Shame, I am a mistake. It's a huge difference.
It's fundamental, this deep core feeling of being flawed, of being the mistake.
Yeah.
It forces you to create a false self just to survive.
Right.
And the real you, the authentic self, just disappears. Mentor calls that the quintessential characteristic of codependency. And this shame, it fuels so much. Abandonment issues, that chronic loneliness, even when you're with people, perfectionism, huge intimacy problems, poor communication. It's like the engine under the hood.
Okay, and the fourth one, trauma. Mentor brings in Dr. Peter Levine's work here, distinguishing trauma from just stress.
Yeah.
How does she link trauma to these dysfunctional homes?
Levine's work is key. Mentor points out how 4 of his obvious causes of trauma are basically descriptions of dysfunctional family life. Severe abuse, yes, but also neglect, betrayal, abandonment, witnessing violence, even just being left alone consistently. When kids go through that, their body and mind get stuck in survival mode. The symptoms are widespread, long-lasting, hypervigilance, always on edge, flashbacks, panic attacks, addictive behaviors cropping up, chronic pain, and that weird compulsion to repeat where you keep finding yourself in similar dynamics, almost trying to fix the original hurt.
So Mentor's big aha moment here is seeing how addiction, abuse, shame, and trauma aren't separate issues for codependents. They're all tangled up, feeding each other.
Exactly. They form this complex, often invisible struggle. It's a really holistic view of where codependency comes from.
It really is.
But, understanding the roots is vital, but it's only part of the picture. Codependency also gets fed, day in and day out, by these insidious lies we tell ourselves. They become our internal operating system.
Right, the lies that keep us stuck. The first one, which Mentor describes so vividly, is lie #1, I'm crazy. That feeling of constant confusion, feeling easily manipulated, not trusting your own gut. It's so disorienting. She felt that strongly, didn't she?
Oh, absolutely. She talks about her mother's silent treatment, how it just screamed rejected at her, and her ex-husband's gaslighting.
Ugh, gaslighting.
Yeah, that awful manipulation that makes you doubt your own reality, your sanity. Those experiences just cement that belief. Something must be wrong with me, with my perception.
But the counter to that, the powerful truth, #1 is, your environment was crazy, not you. Especially for kids. They don't know their normal isn't normal. Just functioning in that chaos shows incredible strength. Mentor's message is, the goal isn't fixing you, it's undoing the programming, letting your real feelings surface, challenging that distorted black or white thinking. It's about reclaiming your own mind.
Beautifully put. Then there's lie, #2. It's too hard. And this one hits home for anyone who's felt that sheer exhaustion, constantly keeping up a fake persona, people-pleasing, being hypervigilant. It's draining.
That's like Mentor says, running in a race, you can never win. The mental, the emotional energy it takes is just immense.
Which leads right into truth, #2. Dying without ever having lived a real life is harder. This is powerful. Center actually connects this to Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's 5 stages of grief.
Denial, anger.
Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Yeah, she applies them to healing from codependency. Like facing death, you have to move through denying the problem exists or that it's your issue.
Right, it's their fault.
Exactly. Then processing that righteous anger, Mentor talks about her own rage or how some people intellectualize it away. Then bargaining, maybe with a higher power, confronting the real pain, the depression. And finally, reaching acceptance. That's where true healing and authentic living can start. It's a whole process.
Definitely a process. Okay, next up is lie, #3, it's too late. That feeling of inferiority, like you've missed the boat, opportunities are gone, time's run out, especially if you've spent years focused on everyone else's dreams.
But the inspiring truth, #3, Mentor shows us, is time is going by anyway. Make it work for you. She tells her own story getting her bachelor's degree in her 40s.
Wow.
Yeah, she was inspired by seeing a story about a 93-year-old graduate. It proved to her, and she wants to prove to us, it is never too late.
That's fantastic.
And this truth also connects to health. That constant stress, that fight-or-flight mode, it leads to adrenal burnout, total exhaustion, dysregulation, and it's directly linked to diseases. So self-care isn't selfish. It's absolutely vital. It's self-preservation. It's so important. Okay, maybe the deepest lie, the one Mentor calls the mother of all lies, is lie, #4. I'm not worthy. It's so deep, so subliminal, feeling like a fraud, undeserving of anything good, and then ending up in relationships that just confirm that awful belief. How does she tackle that?
Well, for Mentor personally, her big breakthrough came through her spiritual journey. So she frames her truth as truth, #4. If God is for us, who can be against us?
Okay.
She talks about finding real comfort and strength, an untapped source of power in that relationship. Her core belief became, you're not an accident, not a mistake. You're loved, valuable, regardless of anything.
That's a really powerful personal anchor for her. What about for listeners who maybe don't connect with that specific spiritual framework? Does her work still offer a path to challenge that feeling of unworthiness?
Oh, absolutely. While her personal path was spiritual, the underlying message is universal. You have to cultivate inherent self-worth.
Yeah.
Recognize your value just because you exist, separate from what anyone else thinks or what you achieve.
Right. So that can come through self-compassion practices, maybe therapy, building a really supportive community. Regardless of specific beliefs, the principle is identical.
Yeah.
You must challenge that core belief of being unworthy to heal. It's foundational.
Makes sense. Okay, and the final lie.
Yeah.
Lie, #5, I'll never be able to forgive them for what they did to me. And that feels so justified for many people, right? Acknowledging the deep hurt, the anger. Forgiving the people who caused the pain seems impossible, let alone forgiving yourself.
It does feel impossible sometimes, but what's really profound is truth, #5. Forgiveness of others is possible eventually. Forgiving ourselves is required to be fully free. Mentor stresses, forgiveness is often the last step in healing. It's a process, not a switch you flip. And it doesn't mean you're saying what they did was okay or that you have to reconcile, not at all. It's fundamentally for you, for your freedom, your peace.
Letting go of their power over you.
Exactly. She talks about her own journey, forgiving her abusers. It was about breaking that hold they still had on her. And just as critical, maybe even more so, is self-forgiveness. Understanding truly you were doing the best you could with the tools you were given back then. It's a huge act of self-compassion.
Okay, so we've mapped out the landscape, the roots, the lies that keep us stuck. Now, the really practical part, making changes, reclaiming your life. Mentor introduces mindfulness as the core tool here. How does she define it? Why mindfulness?
She defines it beautifully as self-transformation through self-observation. Basically, being aware of yourself, your thoughts, feelings, sensations, but without judgment.
Ooh, that without judgment part is tough for codependent.
It's huge because self-criticism is often on autopilot. Mindfulness is about creating just like one extra second, a tiny pause between a trigger and your reaction so you can choose how to respond instead of just automatically reacting.
The pause.
Yeah. Mentor says being mindful to avert drama isn't weakness, it's a superpower. That pause creates choice. It's agency.
I love that framing. One extra second. Can you give us some concrete examples? How does this mindfulness look in action day to day for someone wrestling with these patterns?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, think about when you feel that wave of anxiety or you're stuck ruminating going over and over something. Instead of getting swept away, mindfulness is take a deep breath, notice the feeling, just observe it neutrally like, there's anxiety, and then consciously shift your focus. Maybe to the present moment, the feel of the blanket on you, the flowers nearby, like she suggests.
Grounding yourself.
Exactly. Or in a conversation, you feel triggered. Someone says something, and your usual reaction is defensiveness, anger. Mindfulness is deep breath first. Create that pause. Use that second to choose. Maybe a calmer response. Maybe just disengage. Maybe say, I'm sorry you feel that way, instead of snapping back. Even just focusing on your breath. That deep belly breathing, diaphragmatic breathing, where your stomach goes out when you inhale, that physically calms your nervous system way more than shallow chest breathing. It's like retraining your body's default state from threat to safe.
That's so practical. It's a superpower indeed. And it sounds like Mentor weaves this mindfulness through basically every area codependents struggle with in her guide to recovery.
She really does. It's the thread connecting everything. For control and perfectionism, mindfulness helps you choose to step back. Practice saying, oh, well, let go of one tiny perfect thing each day. For anger, it helps you pause before yelling, choose constructive words, or maybe just go scream into a pillow privately. And it prompts setting boundaries.
Right.
For guilt and boundaries, use mindfulness to remind yourself, I'm an adult. I don't need their approval. Practice saying no, kindly but firmly. Realize some people might drift away, but healthier connections will come. For addiction, obviously, getting clean, getting clear-headed first, that mental clarity is non-negotiable for doing this work. For self-image, use mindfulness to actually notice your good qualities, being caring, being sensitive, even if the old motives weren't healthy. Recognize you are a good person doing your best. For physical well-being, she connects that unresolved trauma and stress directly to physical symptoms. So exercise, healthy food, enough sleep. They aren't optional luxuries. They're vital for healing emotionally, too. And even your environment and personal impact. Mindfulness extends to who you hang out with. She uses that empty elevator metaphor, people getting off as you rise and grow. Decluttering your space, being conscious of media you consume, managing money responsibly, cultivating a positive outlook, making sure your words, actions, even how you present yourself, reflect your true, balanced self.
It really touches everything. It's about shifting from just knowing this stuff in your head to actually doing it in the moment. Retraining those habitual reflexes with intentional choices, slowly, deliberately, choosing freedom.
We've really gone deep today, haven't we? Unpacking this complex world of codependency, the roots in addiction, abuse, shame, trauma, those lies that keep us stuck. But the main takeaway, the absolute truth Mentor wants us to hear is, you are not crazy.
You've been fighting this invisible enemy, often on multiple fronts. But now, hopefully, you have a clearer map, some powerful tools. Remember what Mentor says, it's not too late unless you quit trying. It's a journey, right? Sometimes 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But every single step counts.
And maybe the most profound insight tying it all together is this. What you allow yourself to think about determines how you feel, behave, and to a great degree, how healthy you are. That really puts the power back in your court, doesn't it?
It really does. So we'd encourage you, just start small. Maybe one mindful moment today. One conscious breath before reacting. That commitment, just that willingness to engage with your own healing, it has ripples. Not just for you now, but for the future, maybe even for generations to come. It's truly a gift to yourself and everyone you care about. So here's something to think about. What one small mindful change can you make today, right now, that will gently nudge your inner world just a tiny bit closer to the peace and authenticity you absolutely deserve?